We open with a nostalgic, VHS-quality trailer for Camp Bloodbath, a clear homage to Friday the 13th style 80s slashers. It's got everything. A summer camp, hot counselors, a creepy backstory, and a masked killer named Billy Murphy. Dan B. Norris. Watching the trailer on her phone is our protagonist, Max Cartwright Taysa Farmiga. But this isn't just a fun, retro slasher to her. Her mother, Amanda Malin Ackerman, starred in Camp Bloodbath as Nancy, the sweet but doomed, shy girl with a clipboard and a guitar. Max waits outside an audition for Amanda, who is now struggling as an actress. She's frustrated with being typecast as a scream queen, and her career hasn't gone anywhere. It's a surprisingly grounded and relatable moment in a movie that will later spiral into meta-horror chaos. The mother-daughter duo share a warm, natural chemistry. On their drive home, they sing along to Kim Carnes' Betty Davis Eyes, Amanda's favorite song. It's a sweet, heartfelt moment, right before everything changes. Tragedy strikes when Max spills her milkshake on Amanda's headshot, distracting her. In a devastating sequence, their car crashes, rolling violently through traffic cones. Amanda doesn't survive. 3 years later, life without mom. Max now lives with her aunt, still processing the loss. Her best friend, Gertie Alia Shawkat, picks her up to study at a diner with their friend Chris Alexander Ludwig, the golden-hearted jock. Enter Gertie's stepbrother, Duncan Thomas Middleditch, the ultimate horror geek. Duncan begs Max to attend a special double feature of Camp Bloodbath and its sequel, Camp Bloodbath 2, Cruel Summer. Given that it's the anniversary of Amanda's death, Max is hesitant. But she's eventually convinced to go as a special guest. At the theater, we meet Chris's ex-girlfriend, Vicky Nina Dobrev, Max's former best friend. She's snarky and bitter, but there's an undercurrent of unresolved friendship between her and Max. As the movie plays, Max is visibly emotional, seeing her mother alive on screen. Then, chaos erupts. A series of unfortunate events, spilled liquor, a cigarette, and sheer bad luck, causes a massive fire. Trapped, Max and her friends have no way out. Desperate, Max cuts through the movie screen, and they step through, engulfed in blinding white light. Suddenly, Max and her friends wake up in the woods, confused and disoriented. A van pulls up, and out step the movie's camp counselors: Kurt Adam Devine, a walking testosterone joke; Tina Angela Trimber, a hilariously ditzy bombshell; Blake Tori N. Thompson, the cool guy; and, most significantly, Nancy, Max's mom, but in character as her Camp Bloodbath role. It takes a moment for the reality to sink in. They are inside Camp Bloodbath, and time loops every 92 minutes, the film's runtime, until they accept a ride to camp. The group realizes they're stuck inside the movie, and with it, they now have to survive. Duncan, believing they have main character immunity, experiments by standing in front of Billy Murphy. The film's villain, initially confused by these newcomers, quickly proves he's not bound by normal horror movie rules. Duncan is stabbed, proving that they can die. Meanwhile, Max is desperate to protect Nancy, knowing that she's doomed to die after sleeping with Kurt. The group also realizes they might be able to alter the film's course, if they can stop characters from making horror movie mistakes. The group learns Billy's tragic origin in a stylized black and white flashback. Bullied as a child at camp, he was burned in an outhouse prank gone wrong. 8 months later, he returned, masked and wielding a machete, killing 8 counselors. When they return to the present, things spiral. Paula, the movie's final girl, arrives, but before she can fulfill her role, she dies in a fiery car explosion. Now, Camp Bloodbath has no final girl, unless Max or someone else steps up. Max argues that Nancy should be the final girl. But Nancy, as a shy, doomed character, isn't written for survival. Meanwhile, Vicky, Gertie, and Tina all get their own arcs. Vicky softens, making amends with Max. Gertie gets a bittersweet heroic moment. And Tina, after hilariously wearing mittens and a life jacket to prevent herself from stripping, which would summon Billy, meets a slapstick-y demise. The final showdown is pure slasher chaos. The cabin is booby-trapped, but Billy is relentless. Gertie sacrifices herself, leaving Max, Chris, and Nancy to make their last stand. Max, wounded, ultimately accepts Nancy's sacrifice. Nancy strips, drawing Billy in, allowing Max to land the killing blow. She decapitates Billy, finally defeating him. As dawn rises, credits roll, and the film's reel deteriorates, signaling their exit from the movie. Max wakes up in a hospital, reunited with Chris, Duncan, Vicky, and Gertie. Just as they think they've escaped, they hear 80s music. Pulling back the curtain, they realize they are now in Camp Bloodbath 2, Cruel Summer. Billy bursts through the window, round 2 is about to begin. What makes The Final Girls more than just a clever horror comedy is its emotional depth. It's about grief, nostalgia, and the desire to rewrite the past. Max gets to say goodbye to her mother, even if it's through the lens of a slasher flick. It's funny, self-aware, and surprisingly moving, a film that doesn't just celebrate horror tropes but finds heart in them. For horror fans, it's a brilliant meta-deconstruction, but at its core, it's a story about loss, healing, and the idea that, sometimes, we don't get to change the past, but we can find closure in unexpected ways. And with that, we wrap up our deep dive into The Final Girls. If you enjoyed this analysis, be sure to like and subscribe for more horror breakdowns. And remember, if you ever find yourself inside a slasher movie, don't drop the car keys.